This meeting was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mrs. Trueblood will be absent this evening. Mrs. Stinney? Present. Mr. Cathers?
Present.
Ms. Jackson? Present. Mr. Allen?
Present. This meeting is now called to order. Closed session resolution number 233-2015. This authorizes council to go into closed session. Mayor, Solicitor, Council, are there any items for closed session this evening?
There's one litigation matter, Sawyer versus Pemberton Township.
Is there anything else?
No.
Is there a motion to approve closed session resolution number 233-2015 litigation?
I'll make the motion.
I second.
You're okay.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mrs. Jackson? Yes. Mr. Cathers?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney? Yes. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
It's crazy.
I don't have to read this. This.
Well, you're going to take for a moment, actually, because you're going to add it to the agenda.
What do you want?
And Jason. Just do it by number.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. We are back. There is formal action pursuant to closed session. Council will be adding a resolution to the consent agenda. This resolution is 241-2015, a resolution authorizing settlement in the matter entitled Sawyer versus the Township of Pemberton, and authorizing the mayor to execute any documents necessary to effectuate the terms of the settlement. We were just briefed on this in closed session, and I could describe.
Well, no, just gotta take a motion first.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to add 241-2015?
I'll make the motion to add resolution number 241-2015.
Is that to the consent agenda or to the regular agenda?
To the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Amy, please poll the council.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Stinney?
Yes to add.
Mr. Cathers?
I abstained from this due to my, due to the activities of this particular situation prior to my tenure with the Township Council.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And just for the public, this is the Township Insurance Company went into mediation with Patrolman Sawyer and an insurance company, and they recommended settlement. Our township solicitor was not in that mediation, and he is also recommending the settlement as well.
Well, pursuant to the terms of the township's insurance policy, there's really not a choice. Yes.
Public comments on agenda items. Ms. Quinn, and then Mr. Tam.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple of general questions looking at the consent agenda. 234-2015, we're purchasing a reverse snowplow for the amount of $33.70. If it's over $2,000, how come it's under consent agenda and not the fact that it's over $2,000 for purchase?
Well, under state law, if it's over, I don't have the exact number on my head, but it's 2,600, 2,300. Well, it's 17,500 for bidding, but no. Since the township doesn't have a qualified purchasing agent, if it's over 2,000 and change, I don't remember the exact number, the township, any municipality would have to approve it by separate resolution, as opposed to just doing it as a purchase, as they do for something less than that.
And
I'm sorry, Andy, I believe it's also because it's under state contract.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
other reason.
And we're purchasing it through the state, right? The state has you get a product that you don't have to bid it. You could buy it under a state contract because the state already did the bidding, and towns could buy it through the state. So that would be the other reason.
okay, why are we buying this piece of equipment? I'm curious.
This is actually a recommendation coming from Public Works, so it sounds like it's something that we need.
Okay. 236, 2015. Small Cities Development Block Grant Funds for Housing Rehabilitation Program. I'm curious to know what structures are being rehabilitated. I believe I've seen this before, but
Yeah,
really,
this is actually an amendment. Council approved this at the last meeting, and we're amending this because the project changed by $405. This agenda package doesn't specifically have what it is that we're doing, the scope of work, but it was included on the last agenda.
I think it was for windows.
This is a private home.
For windows for a private home.
Yeah, but it's more than windows. It was more than windows.
yeah, but is it a vacant structure or is it somebody's home that needs
It's a
industrial?
house.
Somebody's
It's a-
house.
Yeah,
Somebody
somebody's
lives
house.
there.
Okay.
It's a person who qualifies based on their level of income for
Okay.
for the money.
And that information is in here. Yeah, no, I'm saying it
Yeah.
is. Mhm.
Yep.
237, 2015. Authorizing grant application to the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the Browns Mills Transit Connection Project. Can somebody elaborate on that, please? What is the Browns Mills Transit Connection Project?
This is a pedestrian pathway from Evergreen Boulevard to the Pemberton Township Library and Broadway. And it's just a safe alternate for pedestrians.
Okay. $239, 2015. Why are we approving the Pemberton Township Municipal Utility Authority 2016 budget now? I don't remember ever seeing this before, so I don't quite understand why it's there.
Well, it's been here before because of the lease agreement. Council has to review and adopt the, is it adopt?
Approve.
Approve, I'm sorry. Approve the municipal budget. So this has been on here before. Why we're doing it now, I'm assuming it's
It's done the
here
same time each year.
each year.
Okay. 240, 2015. Can somebody elaborate a little bit more on this release of a performance bond?
Well, we're going to ask council, actually, we could discuss it, but we're going to ask to pull that. There's still one issue. I'll describe it, but we're going to ask you to pull that because we still have an issue with the developer we're working on. This is a Baker residential project, and they've asked for a release of their performance bond. ARH the township engineer has recommended release of the bond, but there's an issue about some damage on the roadway in front of the property now, and working on making sure that gets fixed before the bond gets released. But under the municipal land use law, once a developer makes the required improvements that had to be bonded, they make a request for the township to release the bond, performance bond, and under law, if your engineer recommends it, you really have to do it. Otherwise, they could sue us. So
Now, is it their bond or our bond?
it's their bond. They posted a performance bond
Okay.
to guarantee that the public improvements are made. And this is then just authorized, it's here at the township, but they post it, and then eventually it will be released once we're satisfied, and then they post a maintenance bond which lasts for 2 years, and in this case, they're also going to be posting a cash bond to cover certain potential repairs if needed. But
They would cover, not us.
all their money,
Okay.
all developer money, no township money.
Okay, that's what I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tam?
$234, where's the money coming from for the purchase?
I believe this is the capital,
It's on the resolution.
yeah.
It's on the back. Yeah, where the money comes.
Yeah, C. From the capital improvements.
Capital improvements, not from the bonding?
Yeah, I don't, it doesn't mention the bond in here, no.
Well, I don't know, I'm asking.
I'm telling you, it does not mention the bond in this
Definitely it's
resolution.
not from bonding.
Dave, would you care to address that? I see the account number on here, which is why I said the capital improvements.
That is a capital improvement account, yes.
I'm sorry?
That is a capital improvement account, yes.
It's from capital improvements, this year's budget.
Yep.
No,
Oh, no?
that will ultimately be covered through the bond, I believe.
Oh.
The bond is a funding mechanism that will pay for anything that comes through. The charging area will be the capital improvement.
So that's another bond item that's being purchased. All right. On 240, why can't the performance bond stay into effect? I didn't hear everything you said.
Mr. Tam, under the municipal land use law, a performance bond is posted under certain conditions, which is that the municipal engineer, after the applicant goes through the planning or zoning board, has to, based on that approval, has to then post a performance bond to ensure that the public improvements are made. And once the public improvements are made, it's reviewed on an ongoing basis and ultimately by the township engineer. And in this case, the developer came back to the township and under the municipal land use law writes a letter and says, I've made all the improvements, please release my bond. The township engineer does inspections. Usually there's a punch list, they go back and forth. And ultimately here, in this case, ARH, the township engineer has recommended release of the performance bond. But under the land use law, it's always contingent upon the posting of a maintenance bond. So if there's any repair items
Right, yeah.
for up to 2 years, if the developer doesn't make those repairs, the township could tap into the maintenance bond. As I said before, in this case, ARH is working on one issue still with the developer, which I thought was resolved before the meeting, but it wasn't quite resolved. So we've asked for the council to pull it till the next meeting so we could finish that one item. It's regarding a repair to the roadway in front of the project. And so we're still, once that is resolved, we'll then ask council to consider the bond release.
Well, the reason why I asked is, in the over 50 years I've been around here, I've seen the township get stuck on developments that they were released, and a year later, a couple months later, they found out that they shouldn't have been. And this is the reason for it. taxpayers end up paying for it.
Well, the idea behind under the law, though, I mean, that's why we have our engineer. An engineer makes their judgments and recommendations. I mean, we, as the attorney and the council and the mayor, would have to rely on those. So, but in any event, at least in the in this case, there's going to be a cash bond posted for certain repairs, that if need be, as well as a maintenance bond. So the township, if and when released, the township will be protected for a number of years.
Did the council get a copy of the engineer's report?
We did.
Yeah, they get a letter recommending it, yep.
Okay. All right. Under new business, where's the money coming from, the $6,590 for 2 salt spreaders?
This also was from the capital improvements.
Is that going to come ultimately from bonding also?
Dave? Yes.
Is there anything in capital improvement that's being done on this year's basis and not bonding? As far as, all right. And the only other thing is that it's getting so that I'm beginning to wonder. I see everything under a consent agenda. I don't see any discussion between council people like I've seen at township meetings, not only in this town, but in many other towns over the years. There seems to be no discussion at all.
Thank you for your opinion, Mr. Tam. This is not related to an agenda item. So thank you for your opinion.
I'll be back with it.
Thank you. Mr. Tompkins?
Good evening. Jack Tompkins, Pemberton Heights. Hope you all enjoyed the nice weather today. I don't think we have too many more of these days ahead of us.
Through the weekend, hope.
Are they calling for a nice weekend? Okay. I was pretty happy with everything. There was a couple questions I had. Jason, with the improvement thingy, you said it was a $400 difference. I'm assuming that's an increase?
$405, yes, increase.
Okay. It's, not substantial, so... I did have a question. Actually, I had a question about the transit thing, too. And you folks had answered it. But I remember in past council meetings where it was discussed, and it was brought up about a bridge and having to get Pineland's approval. Mr. Mayor, do you remember that? I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't address you directly, but I know you're going to remember this. Was that has this been taken to Pinelands, and they finally signed off on that? Because I know I think that was a concern or question previously.
Did this go before Pinelands?
This is just for the grant.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the grant. This is a grant application.
Okay. I would think that you would make sure that we can do this before we'd start asking for money.
Well, we wouldn't spend the money till we would get the approval. You wouldn't want to spend the money getting the approval if you weren't going to get the money.
It's funny you say that.
Right?
It's funny you say that.
You could look at that either way.
It brings, yeah. That was just one question I had about this. I know it's a long-term project that we've been looking at, and I know we're going to be probably discussing this in a year or two still. But it's just something that, it says getting a grant now, but it might take us a year or two to get approval through the Pinelands and all that stuff to do what we're looking at doing. So I'm kind of wondering if we're putting the cart before the horse. I think I've said that before here, though. The other thing I had was it was brought up about the snowplow, and it was brought up. It was mentioned that the snowplow was part of the capital improvement grant or bond that was approved a few weeks ago. And at the last council meeting, you folks approved a Ford F-250 4x4 with the snowplow for for $34,000 and some change. Now, I remember seeing in the Bawden ordinance that there was a 4x4 with a plow on it. Of course, now I can't find it. But I didn't see anywhere mentioned that there would be just a single plow by itself, which makes me kind of wonder why we're purchasing it if it wasn't identified in the bond request. The only thing I can think of in that regard is in bond request there is a dump truck with a plow, but we haven't bought the dump truck yet, I don't believe. Or we haven't approved the spending for the dump truck, I believe. But I did notice on the website we do have a bid out for a dump truck. The township website. So it looks like we're asking for bids for a dump truck, but the council hasn't approved purchase of that yet.
But it will go before council. Can't purchase anything without it not going before council.
I understand, but we're asking for bids for a truck, and usually there's a timeline once the bids are done where we purchase one. According to the website, the bids are supposed to be delivered by the 29th of October. The next council meeting will be the 4th, so I'm assuming on the consent agenda you'll have purchasing of a dump truck on it.
Andy, would you
presuming a
explain
lot.
that about the bids and how long we have there and what will happen if we don't get that approved? Could you explain that, please?
Yeah, I'm just looking, this is the snowplow, where is that?
It's 234.
Because isn't this... Well, typically, under the bidding laws, the township the municipality would have to act within a certain number of days of having received bids, or else the bids are no longer valid. But here, I mean, I feel like this is being bought already, isn't it?
You understand my questions,
I
Andy?
do. No, just give me 1 second.
Is there a
This-
clause
Dave,
in
is
there
this through
that
the
says,
state contract?
is there a clause in there that says contingent upon the availability of funds?
It says that the CFO's execute a certification, sufficient funds are available from a certain account number, beginning with C, 04-15, etc. Oh, this is being bought under a state contract, though. That's why this is different. I'm sorry. So there is no bid here, Diane, in this case.
Okay, that's
Because we
what I
bought
wanted you
it. So that's why I was confused by what you said.
For the plow, yes.
No, for the plow, we bought through a
We're-
state contract.
We're looking to buy it through the state contract.
Correct. So the
Right.
state does the
Right.
pre-bidding in
Right.
essence, and then any public entity could then tag on
But
to
when-
what the state
Right.
price.
My thing though is I'm assuming this plow is part of the plow dump truck combination that we approved with the bond.
Oh,
And I don't see a dump truck in this resolution, but I did see a dump truck in your bid request off the
Gotcha.
township
This-
website.
oh, I wasn't following you.
This
I'm sorry.
snowplow would mount onto something.
Yeah.
Which would be the dump truck.
The plow is for tandem dump truck, certain number, it'll be used as a route truck during snow events.
My concern is we're buying a plow now. I'd hate to
And
see
not the
us
dump
later
truck. Is
on
that what you're saying?
buying a dump truck and a plow when we've already bought the plow.
Well, that's good thought, Jack, but the plow is for a dump truck that we currently have. The last 2 dump trucks that we bought did not come with plows, and that's what this plow is for.
Okay. So this plow is in addition,
Not for a truck that we do not have.
but it's still being bought off the bond that we passed?
It is being bought out of the capital, which is funded by bonds.
Okay. And that wasn't identified in the bond when we approved the bond. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I hear you.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure there was it fit under a miscellaneous tag or something. It wasn't. I don't have that in front of me. But bond.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Council. Oh, you just stepped away.
Well, she's like coughing out of control. That's fine.
Could we move on?
We could, you only need 3, however,
Well, we just want to give
Let's
them
give her a few minutes, about a minute.
Councilwoman Jackson stepped away briefly, so we will wait for her return. Deviate from the meeting a little bit, and we will jump down to the solicitor's report.
What is the purpose for deviation?
Well, because it's the chair's
Oh,
Because Councilwoman Jackson is in the bathroom, so, here she comes now. So we won't be deviating from the,
My apologies.
consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, then that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Dave, you mentioned that you would like to pull number 240-2015?
Yes, if you could, I'd like to look into that a little further, some work on the site that I think should be done before we go and approve and accept that.
Okay, so number 240-2015 will be removed from this consent agenda. Council, are there any other items?
237-2015.
And okay. Council, are there any other resolutions that need to be pulled? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda resolutions to include the 241-2015 that we added to the agenda, pulling also 240-2015 per request of the mayor.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, please pull the council.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cathers?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
My what?
But you weren't voting on one.
Okay, I'm not voting on the first one, but I'm voting on the second, yes.
With this, identify the resolution you're abstaining on.
The resolution, which one is it?
241.
241. Did you want
241,
to
the
pull
new
two-
resolution
No,
that
he-
has
he-
just been adopted.
You were abstaining on 241.
I'm
correct?
abstaining on 241.
You voted
as
yes
stated
with
earlier.
abstention on 241.
We're good.
Is it my vote?
I thought you said yes.
Okay.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Cathers, you requested that we pull number 237-2015.
Yes, it was interesting listening to the comments from the public. I also have some comments, some questions. And may I speak to the mayor?
Sure.
Thank you. Mayor, as with the public safety and the sidewalks, that's understood what's happening within the walkway areas. Is there also attached to this something related to traffic calming devices on Trenton Road in that particular area? Is there something with this?
It's not connected to this particular device. Yes. It's not connected to this particular application, this grant application, but we are looking at, we put a request into the county to explore putting a calming device, a safety device in a raised walkway in front of Stackhouse School in that area. But this application is, it's one that we've applied for in the past and been denied, and we're trying again. It is to make the connection from the development up behind Evergreen, that section of town, down into our business district in Browns Mills, a walkable district, so you can walk into the business district in a safe manner, which as I can't imagine anybody in the town doesn't know that anybody walking on those roads is very dangerous. We see it all the time. So we're trying to curb that, and we were going to come straight down Evergreen Boulevard to West Lakeshore, but the steep incline at West Lakeshore and Evergreen prevented us from being able to maneuver that with the ADA requirements. So we chose a route that would bring us behind the library, coming over the creek in and into Broadway that way. We own the piece of property that will be coming through at the end of the roadway, so it seemed like the best route to go.
Well, Mayor, thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate it. On 237, 2015, New Jersey Department of Transportation, Brown Smells. Let's see if I have this right. I just had that one. I think that's the only one that I called for tonight.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Need to
That's
make
it.
a motion if
I
you're...
forward a motion to accept consent agenda item 237-2015.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Cathers?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Moving on. Council's review of responses to the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs 2015 Best Practices Questionnaire. Council, we all received the questionnaire. Did everyone have the chance to review it?
Yes.
Are there any questions?
No.
For the public, the township received a 82% score for the best practices questionnaire this year. Is there any discussion?
And does that doesn't, or we will get our full allocation of state aid then, based on that score?
Yes. Dave, would you care to touch on that, the state aid, and how the what the score represents?
Well, it represents a favorable score to get all our state aid, and if we'd have fell under percentage, of course, we would have lost state aid. So we met the acceptable standards of the requirements of the state to receive all of our state aid.
Okay.
And I know one of the residents had questioned at one of the meetings about one of the items on the best practice that might not show up again on the next one. Well, that item did show up. I believe it's item number 11, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we've met that standard.
How often do we go through the best practice process? How many years?
It's a
Annually.
year.
Annually.
This was implemented during the Christie administration. Yeah, it was April.
Okay. Moving on. Solicitor's report.
I have nothing for the council tonight, thank you.
Mayor?
Let's see. Last meeting, I did recognize our fire department and all our firefighters and emergency service personnel for Fire Protection Week, and all the work that they have been doing over the years. And I can tell you, just in that week alone, just briefly on the report, that between the schools that they went out to, the function they had over here at Imagination Kingdom, what they've been doing at their firehouses, they've logged in a total of 189 and a half hours of volunteer time, just in this one event alone, not counting the calls that they've responded to also. So, I praise the firefighters for all they do and all the extra effort they do to try and keep us safe here in the township. There is a notice on our webpage about Birmingham Road being closed for a brief period of time. You're welcome to go on there. There's a section there that has a bridge that the county's repairing, and I believe they said it's going to be approximately 20 days for that repair work. So that should be underway. The contractor finished up the project we had going on down here in Sunbury Village, where on PBM Road, where the power company put a pole in and sunk the pole in our drainage system. So we had to do the repair, and we will be seeking reimbursement from the power company for that. repair, so that's been successfully repaired. There is a forum Sunday at the BMIA for the school board candidates, and anyone that wants to come out, I think it'd be a good time to get to know who's going to be making decisions in the future for our children in the township and the education that's provided. So I encourage you to participate in that. Unless you have any questions, I don't have anything else.
The forum, is that at 2 p.m., I believe, on Sunday?
I believe it is. And they do, I believe, a cranberry bake-off. So if you have your best cranberry recipe, make something up, bring it down, and they'll judge it for you.
Okay.
Get contaminated sitting here.
General public comments. Ms. Quinn.
Good evening.
Craig.
Couple of questions, please.
Matt.
Jason.
Council. Okay, we are back. Councilwoman Jackson had to leave, and we hope and pray that everything is okay with her.
Amen.
General public comments.
Ms. Quinn was up, I think,
Yeah.
Council
Was
President.
at the podium when all that occurred.
Mrs. Quinn, you were going, right? It was you were talking.
Well, I had started to, and then... Couple of questions I have. First of all, can anybody give me a status on the Country Lakes Dam? I know that the completion date is sometime in December, but I'm curious to know, where things are.
I do not know. Dave obviously would know that, but I
Yeah,
do
well.
know we're expected to complete the dam project between Thanksgiving and the end of the year.
Okay. The next follow-up question I have from the last meeting I attended, I had said to you all about marketing Pemberton Township, because we have quite a few local realtors, but I also said there's quite a few properties within just my development that is for sale by outside realtors. Did any one of you have a chance to speak to any of the realtors in town as to what's going on, and any ideas since our last conversation?
I personally did not, but I will say, on my way to work, I traveled through a few different townships, and since you made that comment at the last meeting, I've sort of been paying attention to the different realty signs in other townships. I can say that other townships have different named real estate entities in their townships as well.
Okay, but
Can
How
I
much?
just say,
Sure, Ms. Tennant.
you mind, Jason?
No, not
Okay. I think at the last meeting, we talked about some of the things we used to do on the Board of Education, how we were trying to promote our town, our schools, our programs, and that sort of thing. And I was mentioning to Council President that perhaps we could get with the realtors and maybe the planning boards and see what they can kind of talk together to see what is, hot that's going on in the townships. And it worked. It kind of worked back there. And then lo and behold, we just received an email from Amy that our playground was #1 in the state of New Jersey for, and so those are some of the things that I kind of had an idea of, from my experience of, promoting, the township.
right.
So, of course, it's up to council how they want to do it. And then we had a video we did a video with the realtors, and so when someone came in to want to purchase a home, we gave them a video of what was going around in the township and the success of many residents and that sort of thing.
Just to put it out there, I think maybe that, and I would be willing to sit down with all of you as a group to come up with some brainstorm ideas to start putting Pemberton Township on the map.
We're definitely open to suggestions.
Well, I understand that you're open to suggestions, but I think it would be a good idea to form some kind of a, for lack of a better way to describe it, committee to, residents and of Township Council to, get the lay of the land, get the take of things, and then come up with some ideas that, puts Pemberton on the map, basically, and, we're not an afterthought, which seems to be we are a lot of. Another follow-up question I have is, I'd like to have a better understanding with the tax sale list. I happened to look on the township website and I saw the 2015 list of tax sale properties and empty lots. This totals about 1,222 properties, which, and the monies according to the list, total approximately $932, $104.47, $932,104.47. I know what a tax sale is. I know a little bit about how it works, but I guess my question is, how long does the process go on, and when do we know, how much money would be brought in from any of these sales? Like, what's the process in which, how long does it take to do all this, basically?
Work through the entire list.
Well, I'm saying people could go through the list, they can bid on a property, whether it has a structure or it's a vacant lot. There's an amount next to it, that's owed. I mean, the amounts are a couple hundred to a couple thousand.
Correct. And then if they successfully bid, they become a tax sale lien holder.
Right.
And then whoever buys the tax sale certificate basically is paying for the taxes that are owed, or other liens. And then the property owner has 18 months to redeem the tax sale certificate, meaning they have 18 months to pay it off.
Right.
Well, maybe 2 years. 2 years to pay it off. The 18 is 18% interest. It's very high. And if the property owner doesn't redeem and pay off the debt to the entity that buys the tax sale certificate, then they can foreclose on the property.
Okay, so this list has to do with 2015. I guess my next question would be, was there a list for 2013 or 2014? And if there was, how many of those, let me rephrase this, has the township seen any benefit from those tax sale lists? And if so, how much?
Well, I wouldn't know that. I mean, we'd have to check with it.
Okay.
They'd have to check with the tax collector's office on the amounts, but certainly every year this occurs, and every year some are sold and some aren't. So township definitely gets money.
So the 2015 list might have properties that were on the 2014 list and that weren't necessarily bid on or sold. Is it understanding?
I think so. This is more in the realm of the tax collector. My office would only get involved if there was an issue with the tax sale certificate later, so I don't get involved in the nuts and bolts of the sale. But I'm sure we could ask the tax collector to get a summary of that process.
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious, to understand the process better, because basically, if my memory serves me correctly with the township budget, the mayor has to put in monies of unpaid, uncollected taxes into the tax reserve. So, I mean, I'm just curious, $932,000 plus is a lot of money.
It's about 1/24 of the overall budget. The budget's 24 million or so, 23 million, so.
Okay.
So just so we're clear, because I'll pass this on to administration, we know the number of properties that were that were sold,
right,
and then the number that were redeemed, or.
Well, I'm curious. I'm curious.
Because typically,
much?
if it goes on, like if you buy a tax sale certificate, then the owner of the tax sale certificate continues to pay taxes for the property owner during that 2-year period, so that when they go and do the foreclosure,
Right, they're in first
they're
position.
in first position.
Yeah.
Yep. So usually our taxes are paid once this certificate.
But is it state law that gives the original homeowner a 2-year period? Okay.
Yes, it's state statute. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Tompkins? Thank you, Ms. Quinn.
Hello again. I gotta say, with everyone else, hopefully this is gonna be okay tonight. It's really sad when you see that kind of thing. And I swear I had this written down beforehand. On our website for open bids, one of the things that we're looking for is emergency services. Can you have any idea when our current contract ends and what we're looking for picking up a new contract? Andy, I see you thinking real hard.
I am. Trying to remember when we awarded. It probably was a 2-year contract, I think. So if it's out now, it must be coming up. I mean, I'd have to look at the bid to know when it was. But I know always the way it was awarded the last time was it was at no cost to the township.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way Lord's bid it the last time,
Mhm.
which is why they won.
Right.
And they were here tonight, so we saw that they're still performing. They're performing the services, but yeah, there was, I guess I would imagine that would always be the hope that would continue with that sort of.
Okay. And the understanding, like you said, the understanding I had with the previous with current, soon-to-be previous contract is no cost to the township, which is no cost to the residents. They bill the insurance. If there's no insurance, you don't pay.
Well, we can't require that as a matter of law.
Okay.
But I think that's been the practice,
Okay.
right? That's what I believe. That we can't say to Lords, you can't charge the individual who gets the service,
Mhm.
But I don't think they were back. I mean, I think we would have heard complaints if they were back billing after insurance.
I think there was a couple of council meetings, but
Yeah, right.
it was kind of.
I don't think overall we don't hear too many of those
No,
complaints.
a few years ago, we had a few people.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a few years ago.
The other thing, I'm nosy. I go picking around on websites and everything else, so forgive me. Another thing that's on the bid list is a diesel-fired asphalt carrier. And unfortunately, the administration has left. I know we were looking for some stuff with the bond that we approved recently. I know they were looking for a skid steer loader, asphalt roller, and some other things, but it doesn't specifically call out this type of equipment. So I'm kind of wondering why we're adding things. At the beginning of this bond process, I had made a comment similar to, I'm afraid we're giving the administration a blank check to spend whatever they want. And it kind of appears.
Well, keep in mind that the only thing I'll say is that I don't know about this particular bid, but it's not the request to ultimately award it to the low bidder would come here.
Right.
Then they'd have to approve it, so there'd be an explanation. But I don't. So
I think you understand my concerns.
Yeah, but my point is it wouldn't go unchecked.
Right.
It would
Well,
have to be subject to this scrutiny.
I've heard in this room, I've already committed the funds, either you spend the money or we're going to get sued. I have heard that in this room.
Yeah, not on this kind of thing. Not on a contract that's publicly bid, though.
And
No,
we have
that
to.
would be like for stuff they purchase day to day, not on like this kind of thing.
And we have to remember that the department heads, they're the ones that are submitting these recommendations. So they're in the respective departments and know what they need for their day-to-day operations.
I agree, but with all due respect, Jason, you folks are the ones that manage the purse strings. So yes, I could come up to you and say, you know what, I want a Lamborghini, but sometimes you just got to say, you know what, I know you want a Lamborghini, but you just can't have it.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying that, council just says yes to everything. But I'm just saying that
Really?
they recommend. I'm not saying that. I don't, at least I don't, and I'm sure Ms. Stinney and Dr. Cathers
Okay.
have the same response.
I'm sorry, that was my sarcasm coming out. Also, it's that time of year again, where the deer start frolicking and doing their thing, and it's getting dark a little bit earlier. So just be careful while you're driving, because I see a lot more dead deer along the roads. So be a little bit more aware where you're driving, like at night tonight when you're going home.
Thank you.
And the other thing is, I'd like to make a comment about a comment that was made by council at the last council meeting. You know, you folks give us a chance to say what we want at the end, and then you folks have your closing statements. And there was a comment made about volunteers, how the council volunteers. I want to contradict that a little bit and say that as a council person, you might have stepped up to the plate and say, yes, I'm interested in this public service job. And you campaign for the position, and you get elected into the position, and you are paid for the position. You are not volunteered, in my interpretation of that. So I just want to kind of make, yes, you do step up where a lot of people won't step up, but you still are compensated, so I don't believe that it's a volunteer type of thing. Diane, you look like you want to say something.
I do, but I'll wait for my comments.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tam?
What are the tax increase this year? What was the percentage?
I do not remember off the top of my head. Does any, Ms. Stinney, do you remember?
I don't want to quote,
Like 9 cents.
9, 8,
Nine-
8
6 or
cents,
9
9,
cents, something like
9, 8.
Per $100,000 household?
A little bit louder, please.
9 cents per $100,000 household.
What's the percentage on the budget of increase from 2014, 2015, the total?
Oh, I don't know.
The budget is online, right? Has it already been posted?
Yes, it's
On
online.
the budget is on the township website.
Pardon?
The budget is on the township website, and
No.
it does a comparison
I'm asking you
between
for the
this year
total
and...
increase.
Jason's saying
Budget.
compare the two. It's not much.
Mr. Tam, the budget is on the township website, and on the website, there should be a comparison between 2015 and
Okay.
2014.
We'll go step by step then. The state has a 2% cap. They have waivers for certain items outside a cap. Now, the figure I have or come up with is 4.6% tax increase for the taxpayers of Pemberton Township. If this is the case, all this bonding is outside a cap. Now, when you start buying a snowplow for about $3,500, then you're buying a salt spreaders, 2 of them for $6,000, something's wrong, because these items should have been made out of the capital funds instead of going to bonding. Now, if that's being done, and has been done, there's something wrong in the fiscal responsibility of this township and administration. It shouldn't be to buy a plow for $3,500 out of a bond issue, buying other items out of a bond issue, and it's a circumvents the 2% cap by the state, so the taxpayers end up with 4.6% or more of an increase. And that shouldn't be. There's something wrong someplace in how administration is operating this town, Donna. And that's one of the reasons, one of the things I think the council could do and should do. They should have more discussion in the public between themselves of issues. Instead of having a consent agenda with 20 items on it, start going down the items and put more detail in the agenda, of the resolution so the public knows what's going on. They don't know what's going on, to be honest with you.
Thank you for your opinion, Mr. Tam. Do you have anything else for your public?
No, you want to cut me off? Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman in the back with the green jacket. I think is that green, Ken? That jacket?
I have a couple of questions on this item 238.
Sir, if you can you state your name and write your name?
It's Glenn Malpetta, Residential Lakes. On that item 238, you have here these properties that are in violation of property maintenance. Is there a list of those properties for the public to view?
This specific property is listed on the resolution,
Yeah, so the answer is yes.
and it is public information.
All right. The next item here is over at the Presidential Lakes Firehouse. That dumpster is full. It's been sitting there over a week. I don't know if other people are putting trash and refuse in there, but it's overflowing, so it's an eyesore and it doesn't look good. The other item on that Presidential Lakes Firehouse, is there any time frame on the proposal or the estimation on the roof repairs, or if it's repairable?
Council has not received an update yet. I do know that we're not using that as a polling location for the election, so. Amy, do you have anything else about that?
No, I was told it will not be available for the general election, that the polls will be held at the church that's in Presidential Lakes, the Messiah Lutheran Church.
Okay, and then you also have an item on there about police fire officers being appointed. How many were appointed?
I think there's 3, but which resolution was that?
It was the one that was on the list tonight, and both here have the list.
Yeah. 235, Jason.
235, there's 3.
Great.
And that is for a 5-year term.
Now, is that a combined function, fire and police?
It's listed as police duties and at fires and fire drills.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no other public comment, council members?
You want me to go first this time, Jason?
Go ahead.
First of all, again, I would like to apologize for the last council meeting, as I was pretty, upset about how the... Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. It's up to you, Council President.
Do you... Sure, we'll receive the update. We'll receive the update.
You were sleeping.
It's the good stuff.
Yeah, one by one, Sunbury update. We were rained out for the Sunday Fun Day, so we're having that this Saturday, 24th,
Time?
12 to 2. Free hot dogs and drinks and games and fun for the kids and evangelism. And the Sunbury cleanup is still scheduled for Friday the 30th, 9 a.m. at the Civic Center. Put the word out, we need all the workers we can get.
So it's about anyone can help out?
Anyone can come and help out. The township is also going to be there with their trucks and their workers. And we get grant money, so the more people that come out to help, the more grant money we can get for one by one.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you for the update. Thank you. Stinny?
Sorry I couldn't make that meeting last night, but my circumstances. Jason, again, Council President, again, I want to apologize to you that I just didn't thoroughly read that agenda. It's just a habit. You just go right down and get to the nitty-gritty. So I didn't actually read that. So that was my fault when it came to the public speaking on the resolutions. But I don't know. I have an idea if council want to, kind of think about it a little bit. Not to cut anyone off, but maybe because they have, 2 sessions, maybe we can consider, I know the Board of Education has it, 5 minutes for the resolution session and 5 minutes for the public portion. I don't know, that's just a thought that I had, because I was just a mess. All I could think of, oh my God, we can't speak no more. And it was nothing that I have against you, because I can't get to heaven if I don't speak to you, or anybody else, trust me. And you too. One thing I would like to ask council if they would do, we hear Ms. Quinn talk about our businesses and that sort of thing. If it's any way possible that we can consider or give a thought, now there's another business that just closed down, they call it the Chinese food restaurant